Hi, and welcome to this EZReader computer checklist tutorial. In this video, we will run through some of the items that are on our computer checklist that we use for EZReader installation. Our full list contains almost 30 different items, and it is mostly used for full system purchases. Here, we will only highlight the settings that make the computer more accessible for low vision users and settings that provide best performance. Please note that it is not necessary to make all of these changes. These are simply recommendations. The full checklist can be provided upon request. So let's go ahead and open the Windows Settings app. I have settings pinned to my Windows taskbar, but if you don't, and you do have Windows 10 or 11, you can go to the Windows search on the taskbar and simply type in Settings, and then click on the Settings app to open. All right, the first thing that I would recommend doing is to turn off all notifications. This will stop pop-up messages from different apps and from the Windows system. These can just be really annoying sometimes, and when they appear, they're really small, they're hard to see, and they're hard to close. So from Settings, let's go to System, and then Notifications. And then here at the very top, Notifications, just make sure the dial is turned to off. All right, so next we're going to stay in Settings. We're going to go back to System, and we're going to go to Power. Under Screen and Sleep, I would recommend to go ahead and change all of these to 1 hour. So from the drop-down, just select 1 hour for each of these. This will just reduce the number of times that you need to sign back in after the computer falls asleep. Also, under Power Mode, please just make sure it's set to Best Performance. All right, so next we're going to look at the desktop background and contrast options. So from Settings, we're going to go to Settings Home, and then go to Personalization. Then we're going to click on Background. Usually we set the background image as Windows 11 Blue Rose, which is this image right here. But you can choose from any of the Windows default images, or you can choose any photo from your computer. You can also choose to have a solid color as your background if you prefer. So on the same page, you should see contrast themes underneath related settings. So I'm going to go ahead and choose contrast themes. And just a note, contrast themes is under accessibility. So if you don't have that under related settings, you can always get to contrast themes through accessibility as well. All right, so here these are high contrast color themes and default Windows default themes. So you can choose from any 4 of these from this drop down, or if you prefer, you can create your own theme. Okay, so next we're going to go back to accessibility, and we're going to choose magnifier. These are going to change the settings for the Windows magnifier application. So first we're going to change the zoom level. Just make sure it's set to 200%, sorry. And then zoom increment, make that 50%. Also, let's make the default view lens. So from the drop-down, just make sure you choose lens. Okay, so now we're going to go back to accessibility. And now we're going to choose mouse pointer and touch. Here you can change the pointer style. Of course, this is the default, but you have a few other options you can choose from. And then the mouse pointer size. You can use this dial right here to change the size. Generally, we use 4 or 5 with our customers. You can see the size change as you dial. So you can go all the way to the smallest at 1 to the largest at 15. But again, we generally recommend 4 or 5. Next, we're going to choose mouse pointer speed under related settings. This option right here, mouse pointer speed, this will just change the speed at which the mouse pointer moves. Generally, I recommend keeping it at 10. That's a fairly average speed, but you have an option to go slower all the way down to 1, which is very slow, or you can go all the way up to 20. But again, I would recommend keeping it at 10. All right, next let's go into the sound settings and adjust the volume. So we're going to go back to our settings home and then go to system and sound. So for volume, I would recommend to keep the default at 50. That's a pretty average volume to set for everyday use. Another option here is to turn on mono audio. This is sound that's intended to be heard as if it were coming from one position. So that setting makes both the left and the right audio channels get played at the same time. Using mono instead of stereo is most useful for users with certain types of hearing loss. All right, so next let's go back to settings and system. And now we're going to go to display. So under display, you can adjust the brightness of your screen. The dial over here will let you adjust the brightness, and you can see the brightness change as you move the dial. So I would just recommend choose a brightness that works for you. Typically, brighter screens are easier for low vision users to see. Another setting that we recommend changing is scale. On my computer, 150% is recommended, and that's generally what I keep it at, and that's what I would recommend. But there is larger at 175% as well. And then please make sure that your display resolution is set to 1920 by 1080. All right, so now we can close out of settings. And now we're going to open File Explorer. Again, I have File Explorer pinned to my taskbar, but if you don't, you can go to the Windows search bar and type in File Explorer, and then click to open the app. Okay, so once you have it open, please go to View, and then go down to Show. And here, please just make sure that the file name extensions is checked. All right, next we're going to go to the 3 dots over here on the far right of this menu where it says See More. Go ahead and click on that, and then click on Options. This is going to bring up a Windows box. Here we want to go to the second tab called View, and then underneath Advanced Settings, please just make sure it's Display the Full Path in the title bar is checked. So make sure you hit check, apply, and OK. The last thing we're going to do in File Explorer is we are going to create a desktop shortcut for your Downloads folder. So locate the Downloads folder and then hover over, and then we're going to do a right mouse click and drag to the desktop. And then as you release, you should see a menu pop up that says Create Shortcuts here. Go ahead and select that, and you'll see a Downloads shortcut placed on your desktop. These settings that we're changing for File Explorer really just help with remote tech support for our customers. Okay, so now we can go ahead and close File Explorer. The last thing we're going to change is the font and the font size in Windows Notepad. EZReader software has an application that opens up Notepad, so we just want to make sure that those settings are in place so it's very easy to see. All right, so I'm going to go back to Windows Search. I'm going to type in Notepad, and I'm going to click on the app to open. Once it's open, we're going to go into Edit and Font. And then underneath the font options, from the drop-down menu, you can select Arial. And then under font size, let's go ahead and change it to 48. And of course, here you can see a preview when you change the font. Right, so there are a few other things that we do for performance that I wanted to review as well. We do make sure that Windows is up to date. So we go into Settings, Windows Update, and check for updates on a regular basis. That way, anytime you restart, your computer will do the updates. We also usually download the Chrome browser and make it default. We also make sure that Windows Defender is activated and run a quick scan as well. All right, well, thank you for watching this video today. Please reach out to the EZReader support team if you have any questions about any of the items on the checklist, or if you would like a copy of the full checklist.